Okay, George Mala coming to you again. We're just done with the godforsakenly long assembly process, and so I know I have got all my little screws and wing nuts and fasteners in this thing, and that took just much longer than I thought it should. So wow. But here I am, and I'm done with this, and so there's nothing like following a really, really difficult assignment with an assignment that's really not that bad. And so let me show you the not that bad assignment. And this is going to be exploded views. This is one of those things where, oddly, the Fusion really does a much better job at this than Inventor does. It's actually pretty slick. So when you're inside your assembly, and here it is in all of its glory, my assembly here, if you simply come up here and you switch from your model to animation, then the screen changes, and what you get is you get this sort of you get this little timeline down here, and we'll show you what this is about here in just a sec. So I'm going to kind of put this object into view, and if you notice over here you have your tree. That's pretty. So, and that's kind of helpful. I'm going to delete that so we can kind of. Okay, so there I am, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a storyboard first. You probably have a storyboard down here that's blank, but let's go through the process of creating one. So I'm going to create a storyboard first, new storyboard. And a storyboard is sort of a way that you can animate your assembly as you show it coming together or flying apart. And you can have multiple storyboards, so you have multiple ways that you're looking at it. So you can zoom up and have a storyboard that just deals with one certain component, having a storyboard that deals with another certain component, have an overall storyboard. So you can really have a lot of different granularity. Essentially what the modeler is doing is it is simply taking the assembly that you have, and it's assigning offsets to the position of all the parts and pieces, and that's what's creating the animation. So each storyboard is just another set of offsets for the assembly. So that's how it keeps track. So I'm gonna give myself this, and there my storyboard is, and I'm going to kind of move it, and there it is. And notice it recorded that move here. So that's actually what that little video camera is showing you, is that now if I were to draw this, if I were to look at this thing, the first thing it does is it comes into view. So that's sort of the beginning. Now, here's the easy part. So the easy part is that my auto explosion all levels. Notice when you say it says there's no components, I have to select components that I want to explode. Now, here's the thing. You can do, this is actually kind of a interesting thing. So what you can do is you can look at your part in a lot of different ways. So for instance, I can look at it like this, right? If I just want to explode maybe the top part, I can just get the top part here. And then I can transform, I can auto explode. And notice what happens is only those objects are being exploded, and only those objects are being exploded by the scale I'm setting. So that's basically what's happening, is it's exploding those objects. Okay, so I'm going to say okay to that. So then what I can do is I can come back and I can look at this thing from the front view, and I can say, okay, now I kind of want to deal with all of these objects right here. And I'm going to then auto explode those objects. And it's going to think about it. Let's get a little more complicated now, so it's chugging. And then I can sort of mess with the scale of how much I want to blow those objects up. So I have something that looks like this from an exploded view perspective. And then finally I can do something like this, where I simply grab those objects, and I can come in here and I can grab that object. Maybe you can get it from the side here. There it is, and I can transform that with an auto explode. And again, voila. Or I can do a manual explode, and I can simply move the parts the direction I want to move them. Yeah, there it is. So I can move those parts. Now if I want to stop moving them, then I can simply unselect them. So there's my explosion set here. And I can close that. So you can do it as one big explosion, you can do it as little explosions, no big deal, right? But you can kind of show how things go together. Now, the other things you can do is you can also have annotations where if you want to highlight a specific object and say, this is the and you can annotate all that along, and those annotations come down here under callouts, and you can, it'll highlight which ones are which. Kind of helpful. Now, the interesting thing here is if you take your animation timeline, which is sitting right here, I'm going to kind of drag it up a little bit, and I can kind of drag it down. What I can show you is, notice that every one of these objects has a little movement to it. So for instance, if you want to move maybe these pieces here, and you want them to happen later in the movie, and you can move them out to there. And if you want these pieces here to happen earlier in the movie, then you can move them there. So you can kind of play around with how that works, right? And then obviously you can play. And notice these camera moves down here, right? They get a little bit weird. So if you don't like the camera moves, you can delete them. And you can even, again, delete them. And you can even take the one camera move you have. So the one camera move I have is doing this. And if I want to make that camera move longer, I can simply slow down as that's moving. See, by increasing the time, it simply slows the speed down. And the same thing with a lot of the pieces. If you want to mess with how things occur, you can simply select, and then you can elongate them. And then that will transition into a smoother, if that makes sense. You can also make them longer this way. There we go. And so then it takes longer for that to occur. So that's kind of how you mess with time. And so that is how. So now when I look at my movie now, my movie starts to look like, and we can just bring this up and play it. So maybe something more with these guys, maybe something more where I drag. They take a little time to come in. And maybe with these guys, they take a little more time too. I can highlight these guys here, and I can push them to the end of this. And then I can highlight these guys here and push them to the end of that if I wanted to. Or perhaps the beginning. So let's see what that looks like. So you really have a lot of granular control about how these things occur. And again, using that manual transformation, you can manually change things. There isn't a right or wrong answer to this. This one, I think the assignment here is just to make a movie, right? So, see if you can't mess with this and, get an exploded view going. That's what you're after. Now, to publish it, let's see how that's going to work. So to publish it, it's going to publish this. I'm going to publish only storyboard, my current storyboard. I'm going to publish it to a 800 by 600 movie. So I'm just going to say OK. And it's going to be an AVI. And I'll also save it to my computer. So the publishing shouldn't be that bad. Now let me just warn you, the more complicated you make it, the longer it is, the longer the movie's going to be. So keep things down to around 30 seconds to 45 seconds tops. Don't get overly creative. And then when it renders, I should give you a little preview here of this. So to turn this in, it's going to look a little bit different. It'll look a little bit different because so there is the Shark and Shaw Reloader video. And that's what it looks like. Now, to turn this in, let's talk about this. Turn this in. So to turn this in, in the Blackboard course, we're going to go to the assignment turn in. And this time, instead of giving me a link, you're going to upload a file. Don't worry, it's not a PDF. I can live. But we are going to have to go to and we can find that AVI file. And then I'll obviously put my name, and this is going to be the and then you can disregard the link and simply submit it. Now, it should take a little bit because the AVI file is probably not that small. So it should take a little bit. So if you're on a limited internet connection, be patient. It'll tell you when it's uploaded. And away we go. So that is the that is the exploded view. Not a lot there. Not too crazy. We'll get into rendering tomorrow. I'll do that tomorrow. So we're gonna apply some surfaces and finishes to this. You can see I'm already kind of been playing with that, but I'll show you how to do that. Again, that's not that bad to do. So don't worry. You should get an email saying that it was turned in. So congratulations. This one shouldn't be that bad. It'll make up for the assembly one, which I know is really, really hard. But I'm sure you can get through that. So that's it. See you later. Bye.